Coffee isn't the best drink for our blood sugar, but if you're a coffee lover like me, don't worry, I got you. I'm going to teach you what to put in your coffee and what to avoid to make it much more blood sugar friendly. Coffee isn't the most blood sugar friendly drink because it contains caffeine. Caffeine can cause a rise in cortisol levels, which can cause our blood sugar to rise, and then for some people, it may cause a crash afterwards. So when we think about having coffee, we want to add some healthy fats to it, and we also really want to have it after we have a meal. This will help to mitigate some of those effects on our blood sugar. So what do we want to avoid putting in our coffee? We want to avoid anything that's going to give us a big blood sugar spike. And one of the worst things you could put in your coffee is, unfortunately, and don't kill the messenger here, oat milk. Oat milk contains several things that are not good for our blood sugar. The first one is that it contains a sugar called maltose. Maltose is 2 molecules of glucose, and so basically we're getting this huge blood sugar spike just from the oats themselves. Oftentimes, sugar is also added to the oat milk, which will worsen that spike. Many oat milks, including barista blends, often contain vegetable oils. And these vegetable oils, things like rapeseed oil, which is canola oil, it is very, very inflammatory for our bodies. These inflammatory oils, they're very easily oxidized when they're exposed to heat. So if we're heating them up, like when we're making a latte, that can drive a lot of oxidation of the oils. It leads to free radicals, and that's how it causes inflammation in the body. The other thing about oats is that they're often heavily sprayed with glyphosate, which is an herbicide, which is terrible for our gut bacteria. So if you're doing anything with oats, you always want it to be organic. But oat milk is not a good choice for our blood sugar. Another thing we want to avoid are conventional coffee creamers like Coffee Mate or International Delight. These contain those toxic vegetable oils. They often contain sugars, added flavors, artificial sugars, artificial flavors, and are all around not good for our bodies. I like to choose single ingredient foods to put in rather than pre-made creamers, which often contain unwanted ingredients like thickeners, gums, and additives. If you tolerate dairy, I recommend putting raw milk or raw cream into your coffee. Having a higher fat content is going to be better for our blood sugar, so things like cream and half are the best. If you can't get raw, definitely look for pastured, grass-fed, and organic. If you don't tolerate much dairy like me, you can consider trying ghee or grass-fed butter. You'll definitely want to find the unsalted versions and also blend these into your coffee so they're nice and frothy. Butter is the only dairy that I really tolerate well, so I always do some unsalted grass-fed butter and I blend that into my coffee. When it comes to nut milks, I prefer canned coconut milk or canned coconut cream because again, this has the highest fat content and it helps to keep our blood sugar levels a little bit more stable. My personal favorite nut milk is cashew milk. The brand I like is Elmhurst because it's the least watery and it doesn't have any additives besides cashews, water, and salt. Almond milk is another thing a lot of people put in their coffee. Personally, I hate the taste of almond milk in coffee, but if you like it, then definitely look for an almond milk that doesn't have any of those added ingredients like gums, synthetic vitamins, or other additives. MCT oil is another really good fat. You'll definitely want to blend it so you don't have globs of fat floating on the top. I also prefer the C8 MCT oil because this is easiest on our digestion. For flavor, I love to add things like cinnamon, pumpkin pie spice, almond extract, and pure vanilla extract. None of those things have sugar, but they can give us that illusion of having a little bit of sweetness. When it comes to sweeteners, for blood sugar, no sweetener is best. However, if you can do okay with some carbohydrates and some sugar, I prefer to use things like coconut sugar, honey, or yacon syrup. In terms of non-nutritive sweetener, allulose is a good choice. I personally don't love using erythritol because it is a very highly processed food and it often comes from GMO corn. Monk fruit is a good sweetener, but it often comes with erythritol. If you tolerate it and if this works for you, that's fine too. I definitely recommend to avoid any sort of artificial sweeteners, things like sucralose, which is Splenda, or Sweet and Low, or saccharin. or acesulfame potassium. All of those sweeteners are very inflammatory and linked to negative health outcomes. A lot of people like to add collagen peptides to their coffee as well for a little bit of added amino acids or protein, and that is fine too. I really just recommend finding a trustworthy brand that uses grass-fed cows. I like the collagen from Perfect Supplements, and I also like the bone broth protein from Paleo Valley. I'll link those in the description below. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the quality of the coffee that we're drinking. Coffee is one of the most highly sprayed crops, which means it's often loaded with pesticide residue. I always recommend to get organic coffee because this will help to reduce the amount of pesticides that we're exposed to. When it comes to decaf, make sure you're getting Swiss water processed decaf. If it doesn't say water process anywhere on there, you can assume that it was decaffeinated with chemicals. These chemicals can often cause us to feel shaky or anxious or some sort of inner trembling, so the quality of our coffee really matters as well. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you check out my whole podcast episode all about coffee on the Unlock the Sugar Shackles podcast, and be sure to share below what's your favorite thing to put in your coffee.